Good morning. I'm still alive, though I probably lost a life on Friday. Just quickly, the story was I was feeling a bit muzzy. I managed to get Easter cards and my Easter present for all of Downside, being a tin of Quality Street, out in the morning. And through sort of lunchtime, I was feeling, as I said, very muzzy, not well. Took myself to bed just to see if I could recover a little. And by chance, I'd actually ordered a cushion for my backside because I managed to puncture my existing cushion, which is quite important for when I'm working on my laptop. And so the district nurses, they know I leave the front door open, much safer that way because it's easier for people to access chaos if necessary. And so they came bundling in to find me out on the floor, totally comatose, and they eventually got a BP out of me of 50/30, which isn't exactly clever. So massive panic, ambulance requested, no one was messing about because I was clearly not very well. And so with undue haste, really, because I left my wallet behind, which became quite important, and my electronic backup behind. So somehow I did take my mobile phone, which was a relief, but it was now on limited battery. And oddly, my new medicines followed me. So although I didn't have my insulin, I did have all my regular medicines. So I landed in A&E, straight into a bay, so there was no messing about there, no delays. And they determined that I should go off to AMU, acute medical ward, as I was not a very well bunny, to be treated. And that was on a Good Friday, so we were into weekend working. I have to say the staffing was good. I would have actually commended AMU. It's so different when it used to be White Parish Ward, which I now visit for endocrine issues. And it's light, airy, well staffed, good, harmonious staffing presence, actually. I couldn't have been better looked after. And that was fine. I saw a couple of times the consultant came round and gave me polite bollocking about looking after myself a bit better, which is probably very true. Although, yeah, I was not very well. So that was fine. And then he said, well, look, on balance, you're not very well, but we need beds. We need to clear beds, which is fair enough. I understand that. So I'd like you just to do a couple of tests for me. One, as you've not been eating so well, is that you've got to prove you can keep down a hospital lunch, which is easier said than done because it was quite revolting, to be honest. And then to be able to demonstrate I could actually walk independently up and down the ward, and the ward is actually quite big, so that was not a small effort. But a sister duly turned up and did the walk with me, and I got down to the nurse's station and walked back again, all without too many wobbles, so that was positive. I was very determined, mind you, not to wobble, but she wasn't to know that. And that was all fine. So basically, it's all been set up that, as it were, from 2 o'clock through to 3 p.m, I'd be prepped for discharge at 3 p.m. And that's how it was left, and it was all good, except that I started noticing that things were not happening. Like my cannula wasn't being taken out. I was still on drips. I was having more drips added. And so I started asking questions, and increasingly all I got was embarrassed answers, which was strange because actually the staff have been very open and very good. And I just like openness and transparency. It's as simple as that. So eventually we dug into what the issue was, which was a first-year doctor decided she wanted to have a go for some reason at the consultant. So internal matter affecting external, as in me, and worse actually the staff, because she completely undermined the morale of the staff through insisting on not explaining why she wanted to keep me in, and putting staff in the invidious position of having to try and explain to me without undermining her, which I thought was dreadful. So I'm going to report her. She doesn't deserve to be in practice. She should go back to medical school and learn a few personal skills, to be honest. Completely woke, completely anti-establishment, and no doubt on strike this week. So how am I? Well, best way of describing it is I got back eventually, because 2 o'clock turned into 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock turned into 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock turned into 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock turned into 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock turned into 7 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, I had a lady who's obviously one of the civilians charged with booking taxis, because sadly I left without any money. My wallet was at home and I'd run out of battery, so there was not much I could do. So the hospital did agree to pay for me to go home, which I would have been very happy to have paid for myself, but Sylvie, I couldn't. So she then turns up and says, well, yeah, you're ready to be discharged, but the taxis now won't turn up for another 2.5 hours, which was a bit of a knife in the face, to be honest. So I had to put up with that. In the end, actually, I did get a very good taxi driver. He was brilliant. He'd been to Downside a few times, so he knew the setup. And I went in a wheelchair because you're not allowed to walk on your own. In fact, it would have been too far for me anyway to get to his ambulance. So that was all good. Chaos, meanwhile, had been having a ball. I don't know how. Everyone seems to know more than me in Downside, but anyway, Kathy from number 2 abducted him and spoils him absolutely rotten, so I can't really complain about that. But I think Chaos worries too much about that. He loves his being kissed and kissing her and just being a complete toad. So I get back and I collect him and all's good. I do Kathy a nice thank you card because I'm a properly brought up boy. Yeah. The consultant had warned me I might not feel very well. And I didn't. It felt as if I'd been run over by a couple of buses and a tank. And even now on Wednesday, I'm still feeling like I've been run over by 2 buses and a tank. Chaos couldn't have been worse timing for him because everybody was away. Roger from the Link, who walks him usually for over an hour a day, he's in Ethiopia. Val, his wife, who often steps in for shorter walks, and had a bit of a fright yesterday because Chaos and various dogs in the park decided to have a fracas. I know he has a hatred of a certain retriever, so I suspect he fell in with them. And to be honest, other owners are not very good controlling their dog. So Chaos will give as good as he gets, and if they give him, he'll give back. Small dog, big attitude. So anyway, so poor Val had a bit of a bad time yesterday. And Helen, a good friend, who's had Chaos for months at a time in the past, she's full house with dogs, so that wasn't a go on this occasion. Couldn't come pick him up. And my mother, at 86 now, has given up. She won't like me for saying this, but she's a bit old and doddery these days. And Chaos is just too strong for her, which is fair comment. So, not a good time for not being around, really. But I think my policy, having an open door policy, access to all of Chaos's food and water, etc., etc. In fact, I noticed Kathy nicked my new summer water bowl for Chaos, which was out on the table. I still haven't yet been brave enough to put up my umbrella. It's not been quite warm enough, and it's still, as we're going to see this weekend or this week, with 60, 70 mile an hour winds, is not a good time to be putting the umbrella up, although it will last 50 mile an hour winds. So, yeah, interesting time. I'm trying out now podcasts as a way of communicating to everybody, as being something different rather than doing lots of touch typing. Might help. So, if you've been listening this far, thank you very much for having listened. And it will be one of a number of podcasts I shall put out on various subjects, because that seems to be the way to go these days. And I've got a lot of interesting things to say about junior doctors, about the NHS, about the environment, about climate change, about the work I'm doing with Wessex Water, and our completely useless and spineless politicians. So, sorry, John Glenn, you're not going to have a good time. Bye for now, guys.